Welcome to Mailbag Monday. Actually, no. This is Make It Monday. I've run out of mailbag stuff, so I'm going to make this thing. Do you want to see what it is? Along with the other bits of the project, which is only one part of it. Stick around. If it's your first time here, click on the subscribe button and on the bell icon to get notifications about new videos. So here's a bit of a spoiler. Alright, this is one piece which is completed, and this is the other piece which is completed. So I'm going to show you how to do this. This is basically a filtration system, and you can also put in different filters. If you want different types, you could adapt to these kind of HEPA filters instead, which might be better suited. Depends on what you've got around. So I thought I'd do a little video on this. This isn't going to be much. There's people getting into electronics and want to sort out fume extraction. Now I already have a fume extractor, which is up here on a big mount. Bloody noisy thing. Makes a hell of a racket. Because it's so noisy, I don't tend to use it when I'm recording. And even then, it doesn't really reach where I need it to go from here. It's just big and bulky. So what I'm actually trying to do is make a better one. So what I've picked up here is a little extractor fan, which is one of these. Right, little 100mm extractor fan, nice and simple. What I've done is I've modified it, so I want a flexing through the back. It's actually a original hole in these, and a cable strain relief already on there, so I'll use that, loop it around, lift it up. I've added a switch, little rocker switch in here, which is heat shrink and everything to make it nice and safe, and wired that in series with the phase line, right, with the active line, what you want to call it. So that is a little fan, so if I plug it in, that works. And I've put a little slot on the top here as well to go around that switch, so it all fits just like that. Okay, so that is just obviously going to suck in through the front and vent out the back. The reason I've done it like this is that I want this to be able to position it on my bench wherever I want it, so I'm just put it on the bench where I need it, and then I have some ducting out the back, which I've got here. Some expanding ducting stuff. I've got 3 metres there, which should be plenty, and I'll run that down the back of the bench. And the plan was to have this on the other end of the ducting and install some of this carbon filter stuff, right? I've got loads of these, actually just like almost exactly the right size. You just push it in there, right? Now that was the plan. However, this is too restrictive to airflow, so I'm finding the actual airflow is dropping significantly when I'm trying to use this. Although that works beautifully, I'm going to set it in like that. So that just slips over there. You've got some cable ties you stick on, hold them together. Alright, so that was going to be the plan. So ducting on there, and then the fan on the other end. Just stick the cover on that before I do something silly. There's actually a screw, so you can actually screw the thing shut, which is why I wasn't too worried about having the mains voltage in there. And stick this on the other end. Okay. So that's basically just going to go with that. Alright, let's just plug the thing in and just see how that filter's going to go. Turn it on. Right, so there's quite restricted airflow here. So what I'm worried about here is actually having this then be not efficient enough to actually suck through a decent amount of air. Because without this, it's actually doing really well. I can feel the airflow going in, but I can't really feel much coming out. Right, it's coming out, but it's not as good. If I take the filter back out, the airflow coming out feels like it's about 3 times more when I take that filter out. So what I'm thinking I need to do is, instead of having this, is to actually build a little box with these filters on, say, 3 or 4 sides, and then put these in the box. That way it's got a much larger area for the air to go through, which will increase the airflow. Right, so this is my Tinkercad page where I've designed these parts for the filter. You can see here, this is all the various parts I've made. Various parts for other units, like feet for the Fluke 5200A, and T12 tip holder, and handles for Valhalla, and HP levers for the circuit balls. Might be used as some of the Fluke gear too, actually. All sorts of little bits and pieces I've made in here. So you've got a Fluke feet as well, based on somebody else's design, which I've heavily modified. These are the 4 parts interested in here, so let's just take a closer look. So this is one here, is one of the side panels, like the top or bottom panel, the blanking ones. So all I actually did, I only did one design, and I flipped it in my slicer software to make each side. So I just did a mirror in order to get 2 parts on the same one. Right, so that's a pretty simple piece. Then over here is the actual inlet part. It's pretty simple really too. And then here's a blanking panel, which I haven't actually used. I've designed it, but I haven't used it. So actually this piece here came from this piece. It started out as that, and I added the inlet onto it. So it's like how it evolved. I needed an inlet anyway, obviously, but I thought I'd make a blanket panel in case I needed one, because there wasn't much extra effort, and Yeah, I haven't used it, but somebody else might use it. And here's the actual filter sections. Right, so these are my Tinkercad page. I'll be putting these onto my Thingiverse page as well, so I will be uploading them onto there. So yeah, if you want to find the parts and you want to make this yourself, then check out my Thingiverse page, you'll find them there. Okay, moving on. Now we look at the parts. Right, so this is part of the frame I'm going to make for the cube for the air filter. So I've already 3D printed this. It took 7 hours to print this piece. So I've actually tweaked some settings, made some changes to the model, that sort of stuff. And I'll do another one now, and hopefully, I think it will probably take about 3 hours, because I've decided to go faster, because the surface finish is fine and I don't need this level of quality on it. It's also used a lot of material, so it's solid. So I'm going to be changing the model a little bit. So the idea of this is that it's got this finger here, which would go into this slot here. Alright. So you make a cube, so this sits like that. So you stick another piece on the end, which will go into this slot. And you make a cube up with those pieces, and then I also have like a plain top goes on the top and on the bottom, and a 100mm inlet tube, so the ducting which is on this can go to it. And I can just put filters inside here on each one, and because I've got a large surface area in the filters, it shouldn't restrict the airflow very much at all, so it should give really good flow. Because it'd be going through the filters slowly, it should give a chance for the filters to work quite nicely too, instead of trying to force particles through them. So that's the plan. So I want to fit this back on my printer and print some more out. Well, the first clip I showed you the first piece I'd made, which is this one here with the 3D printer. Each time I did a print I refined the design slightly to try and get it faster and more efficient. So this one here is like the second print. Made these a little bit thinner. I think I hollowed out a piece on the inside as well, which you can't see. And this is the third print. Again, I made this thinner again, thinking I'm still happy with that thickness, that's fine. And then I changed these tabs on the end. So instead of being the full length, they're just these two little fingers on the end. That's all it needed. And these also hollowed out inside as well. Then I printed the inlet piece. Now, weird thing my printer does, it's obviously the slicer software does this, but you can see it's got this split piece there. Alright. Now this is going to be because it's slightly offset. When I originally did it, it was all perfectly centered. Then I resized it slightly and just took a rough guess at where it's going to sit. It didn't measure it properly or anything, so it's slightly offset one way. So that's why it's got this extra bit here and that slot. But that slot's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be solid. So something that my slicer software does when it gets because I've got 4 layers for the vertical shells, right? So I've got 4 layers that side, 4 layers that side, and then it's like missing a layer. I think if it's not like a complete thickness of a nozzle, like 0.4 in my case, then I think it actually like misses it. If it's not a nice round number, I think that's what it tends to do. It's a bit weird. Anyway, so that's the inlet. Instead of making a big solid piece, I've stepped the side up because I need to step it up to make a seal. So it's all pretty simple really. And these are just pushed together, right? Well, they're quite loose fitting. I've made them quite loose fitting. Now, because of this design changes I've been doing, I need to put them together in the correct order, otherwise it won't fit. Alright, so this one has to go to that one there, that's fine. That just has to go into a complete slot because I've got these with fingers on it, so I have to make sure that goes together like that. Come on, pop in there. Like that. And then this one here like that. Slots together, and that will go on there. Then that will pop into that one. It will pop into that one, almost. That. Come on. Cooperate. There we go. Alright, so there's the cube. Alright. So the idea is that you put 3 filters in, and those outside edges there, in those 3 pieces. And we have a top and a bottom piece, which I have one printed out of, right here. This is one of them. Okay, I haven't taken it off the sheet yet. We'll see how easy it comes off. It might snap in half. It's a beautiful finish on that, actually. It's really nice. It's like one of the best finishes I've had so far. Must be gradually getting I've been tuning the settings as I've been going, trying to get better and better. This is PLA, and I've been trying to just get it refined. Each print I'm just trying to refine it slightly more and get it a little bit better. You know, so snap it, right, there we go. so that will fit on there, like that. Now I've actually made the sizing a fraction smaller, so this should be 150 mil in theory, but because of tolerances and stuff like that, and I've made this 149, so it should fit better. Yeah, that's just got a very slight overhang there, almost nothing, so it's pretty close. You know, that's why I made it slightly smaller. Alright, so that's top piece. Just got to do now is print another one of those to make the bottom piece. But each piece has taken hours. Alright, this is obviously bottom finish, not the best, but that doesn't matter. I don't really care about that too much. That's only 2mm thick, was it? No, 1/2mm thick, that print. Actually, when I did this the first time I cocked it up, I made a mistake. And I had some issues with the printer being a bit weird. This is the first one I did, which looks alright, apart from it's got these little, you know, these lines through it, which is like a infill pen, which is it shouldn't have been doing. Don't know why it's doing that. And you think, oh, it looks alright. Is it? it's like less than 1/2mm thick. It's like probably 0.4, 0.3mm. I haven't actually measured it, but yeah, that wasn't the intention. Yeah, I was trying to get. I had problems with it sticking to the bed. I was messing with it for ages, and I was trying to get this thing. For some reason, I found out what it was now. My bed was actually having issues with the rollers. The bearings on the bottom are worn out. They've actually got some play in them now. The actual plastic on the outside of the bearing is slipping up and down the bearing. So what happened is my bed, when I took these pieces off, the last piece I took off, it shifted the bed a little bit, so it was no longer level. The back had dropped down about 1mm, so I was having trouble actually getting it to work. Normally I just set it and that's it, I don't have to mess with it. But because this bearing's suddenly worn out, because probably all this printing I've been doing, and I've been doing it fast, yeah, it's destroyed the bearings. So I ordered some more bearings, so I re-leveled it after this one and got the print stuff. This is obviously why it screwed up, because it got confused because I kept stopping the print. So when you do a stop on the print on into 3, it seems to confuse it a little bit. So it's more reliable to turn it off, turn it back on again, and then restart the print, rather than doing a stop and then a start. It seems to like it hangs up some stuff in memory or something. It just gets confused. I'm not quite sure what the story is there, but it does something weird. And you end up with things like this, which is, I mean, there was no infill on this thing. It didn't make any sense. The thickness is because of me. I made a mistake when I did the drawing. I did a typo. I was supposed to have 1.5mm, and it's ended up being 0.5mm, and I didn't notice. Anyway, so that's when I printed this one. So yeah, that's the concept, and all I've really got to do is probably either glue it together, or I might even use hot air and melt the parts together, so it's, you know, permanent. Mind you, glue will be pretty permanent too, but I'm not sure what glues will work on PLA. I haven't actually tried that out. Never experimented with that. But yeah, so that's the box, and once I've printed the final piece, then it'll be good. This piece here, even though it's, you know, really thin and flat, that took me about 5.5 hours to print that. For some reason it's just going really slow. I think it's because it's considered it as being like the first layers, which it tends to do slowly to make sure it's got good bed adhesion. These other parts, like these sides, I think the first one took about 7 hours, I think it was, and after I tweaked the settings, I got it down to about 4 hours. I think it was 3.5 hours, and then the last one was about 2.5 hours. I was getting faster and faster with the printing. I was speeding it up and trying to minimise the design a little bit and things like that. So I got down to pretty quick, about 2.5 hours. One of those. This inlet piece here, I think that was about 6 hours. Yeah, I think it might be 5 hours to print this piece out. And this took 5.5 hours, which amazed me actually. I thought it would have been quicker, because there's probably not, you know, it's probably a similar amount of plastic in that as there is to this, but because it was doing a slow print, because it's on the bottom layers, it just did that. But it came out a nice finish on there. I'm quite happy with that. But unfortunately, unless I do a flip, get design and flip it, I'm going to end up with an ugly surface on the other side. Maybe I'll do a flip on the design so the ugly side stays on the inside. That might be an idea, eh? Anyway, you get to see it. So next time you see this, it will be finished. Right, so I've been gluing this together, so I've already got those pieces done. So that's the bottom piece on there, well the top, whichever way you want to have it. And here's the final piece. So I've got this one here, which I'd already designed in that way, and I just flipped it in slicer, just mirrored it, so that it should actually do that side instead. So let's get the thing off the board. Do love these magnetic pads. Brilliant. Much easier than trying to scrape it off the bed of the actual machine. The reason I mirrored it is so I could have a nicer finish on the outside. I mean, obviously you could polish it or something like that, but I'm not going to worry about that. I just didn't want the whole bed, ugliness of the bed. It's marginally better. The other side actually looks nicer. It's interesting, this one didn't print as well. Even though it's exactly the same settings and everything. It's interesting. So let's stick this thing on here. Now, so it's got to sit like that. It should be pretty square. I used the other panel to square the frame up, so it should be pretty much there. And this panel should kind of agree to it. I mean, I've only done it by eye. I've been actually like used a set square or anything on it. So I'm just going to glue that entire edge to try and create some kind of air seal. This glue's pretty much had it anyway, but I have to mess around with it a little bit. It's not the best glue anymore. It's a bit old. I've had it for a while, but it still works. There we go. I do want all the air to come out around the through the filters, not through the gaps. I mean, there are going to be gaps. It's not going to be perfect, but you could fill in. I mean, I know there's going to be bits you can fill, make it better. But if you put a thick enough seam of glue all the way around, then it should be pretty much sealed. So this cheaper glue is not really doing too well. I think that's the bead right round. It's good glue. This actually works alright. It's very handy. It's quite forgiving. It doesn't glue hard. It stays quite flexible. Let's pop it on there. We get it straight, then I flip it over so it gets the weight of the filter will actually hold it down. Right. Flip it over. And push. Now, nothing, these are quite thin, so not very strong. They're 1/2 mil I made these. I'm using a new lens. See if it's any better. So the thing about this as well, so the super glue, you can actually adjust the fitment. That'll do. It's pretty good. I'm just being fussy. So I'm going to leave this to dry. Shouldn't take too long, this stuff actually goes off pretty quickly. It's not bad. I don't know, probably 10 minutes or so, and I'll do the rest. Okay, so let's start putting filters. I've already put one piece of filter in. Somehow I've already got a cat hair on it. And that's the original one. This is on my original filter head, which I showed earlier in the video at the very beginning, which I actually recorded about 6 months ago. It's when I first started doing this project. It's about 6 months. It's taken me this long to actually get around to doing this piece. Anyway, that's why the camera looks so different at the beginning. Now it's got some of these carbon matting filter things, you know. Now this has actually got like a lip. That's what I've designed in, at least. There's a little lip around the edge here. You can probably just see it in the light catching it. So anything that's in there will help hold it in. Now these are a fraction bigger than the hole. This hole's a 125 mil. And these filters are actually a fraction bigger than that. I think they're about 128 or something like that, but that's fine. These actually compressed a little bit, which also means it's going to be a good fit around the edges. Try and pop it all out. And it's also going to push itself into the corners and stuff like that, so it's just pushing into the edges and seating in there nicely like that. That's in. You can probably see this is the original one. You can see the circle of dirt from the filter, which is, you know, obviously it's working. It's catching dirt. So now these are obviously not proper filtration. They're like a partial filtration. They're not super fine or anything like that. what I'm going to do eventually is actually put these in. I've ordered some more, I haven't got enough right now. These are slightly smaller, these are 115mm. As you can see, it's got a slight gap around here. I'm not worried by that, because what I can actually do is get either 3D print a little L-shaped piece to go in there to act as a spacer, or I could stick some like draft excluder stuff which you put around windows or doors, that sort of stuff. Just put a strip of that around there. I've got some somewhere, I've got some in a drawer, and then it will just sit, that will fill that gap in, and then it will go through one of these filters instead, or one of these more likely. These are like a combination. So I might actually kind of go to this kind of thing. I might use these. I've ordered different ones, different types, so we'll see how we go. I mean, if the airflow is okay on these sorts of things, then I'll just use these. Obviously, this is it's going to get rid of a lot of it, but not all of it. That's why I want to make sure I've got the best I can. I mean, if I put in these better ones, then you know it's going to do a better job. This is why I made it a cube with 3 sides. I could have done 5 sides. Although, if you know, one side's going to be on the floor, so yeah. Anyway, could have done 4 sides, because then you can actually you got much more airflow, right? Because it's spread across a larger area, you get more airflow through it. Let's try another bag filter. Come in these little bags, because these can be a little bit dusty. See our carbon. Put another one in. I designed these to be a tight fit, so they do actually have to be pushed in. That way they are kind of sealing around. You can see some bits of carbon coming off in here. So that's that. That's the filter done. Alright, at least focus. Now, so once these other ones turn up, I've only got 2. I've ordered some more. Then I will probably change these out for these other type. I'm not. So it's only a minor modification to do that. I'm not at all worried by that. But in the meantime, I've got these 3, which will. At least mean it's got decent airflow. That should, in theory, triple my airflow that I was getting through my extractor. Using this one did restrict the flow quite a bit, so this will at least be a lot better. If you've got more experience with these filters or any kinds of air filtration systems, I'd like to hear that as well. See your thoughts. Obviously, as I say, these are rudimentary filters. They don't do a huge amount. They do something, which is better than the alternative, so that's why I'm thinking about going to these ones. There's also a possibility inside here, maybe stuffing some other filter material inside, some finer stuff. I don't know if it's something you could do. Maybe you could even probably put a piece on the outside again, so you've got multiple layers. Different options. I mean, it's the beauty of making your own stuff, is you can do what you want with it. Make sure you subscribe, click the bell icon, do the thing for creator posts, share the video, give it a like, thumbs up, and comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts, have a chat. Yeah.